Hello dear viewer, I was born ready, Murdoch X here, and today we have a hidden gem for the PlayStation 3, a post-apocalyptic game. A game where a band of baby chicks must learn to take over the streets of Tokyo. A game that is amazing and you need to play it. Talking about Tokyo Jungle. In Tokyo Jungle, you'll alternate play between story mode and survival mode. In story mode, you'll start with a tutorial, then move on to taking over the life of a Pomeranian whose owner never came home. This Pomeranian must leave its house, claim territory, and find a mate to ensure survival for the species. The story continues with deer, beagles, cats, and so much more. But to unlock new creatures and the next segment of the story, you need to jump into survival mode. Rather than a story with a few goals like we have in story mode, survival mode is a string of challenges with a time limit. Besides meeting these goals, all of the standard survival aspects remain. Your animal will get old. It could get eaten. It needs to mark territory and reproduce. Also found throughout the stages in survival mode are archives which document the history of this world that led to its current state. Finding all three in a survival stage opens up the next playable story mode chapter. Lather, rinse, repeat until you own Tokyo. But watch out for the raptors. Besides having two modes of gameplay, the style of play is also divided into two depending on whether the creature you use to pee on things is a carnivore or an herbivore. Herbivores eat plants and don't do great in a fight, but they can double jump to make escaping from predators a bit easier. Carnivores are generally easier to find food for, but you need to pick your fights carefully. Sure, you could sneak up on that hippo and get in a good strike, but it won't one-shot kill her. She's going to be mad. Then she'll kick you in the face and eat your entire family. If you're starving and there's nothing else around to eat, it's a risk you may have to take though. At the top of the screen we have bars for life, hunger, and stamina. What doesn't have a bar up there but is also important to keep an eye on is toxicity. We'll come back to that. Life is your standard HP meter. Get hurt, it drops. Eat food and get out of danger to refill it. Then there's the stamina bar. This depletes when you dodge roll using the right analog stick. You'll want to use this a lot, but you must show restraint or you'll be easy pickings when it runs out. And then there's hunger. This bar should always be on your mind. It is always depleting, and if you need to venture through a part of town that doesn't have much food, then preparations will need to be made. At any point during the game, you can check the map, which will show you how much food is in each section of town. If you need to go through an area with limited food, you need to fill your hunger meter before venturing in, or even better, carrying a carcass with you to munch on. Of course, this latter option is only available for carnivores. If all of that isn't stressful enough, there's also toxicity. Zones will get a nasty, toxic cloud that will taint the water and meat. You'll also breathe in the nasty stuff, which inches up the meter. When it reaches 100, your life meter will start to drop fast. To cure toxicity, you need to eat fresh food. If a plant or a corpse is purple, then it's poisoned. It will fill your hunger, but it will also fill your toxicity. If you eat a clean food, the toxicity meter will drop by 10 points each time you eat. Because of the random toxicity locations and level of food, it may be difficult or impossible to get through sections of town, but there is a way around this. Each zone has 4 locations you can use to mark your territory. After all of these have been marked, potential mates become unlocked. They will show up as hearts on the minimap. If you can find a mate and bring them back to a breeding spot, then several things will happen. You'll play as a band of creature rather than just one, and all of the food and toxicity levels around the city are shuffled around. The downside is that not all mates are created equal. There are 3 levels of mates as noted by the hearts floating above them. Black hearts are desperate. They have fleas and will produce less offspring. On the plus side, they have no requirements besides marking all 4 spots of the zone. By the way, I'm not joking about the fleas. If you pick a low quality mate, you will get fleas. From time to time, no matter what you're doing, your animal will stop to scratch itself for a bit. If you're hiding in some tall grass, it's not a big deal, but in the middle of a fight, this is deadly. What it takes to impress the 2 higher levels of potential mates is your calorie intake. By eating more and better foods, your level will raise to veteran and then boss. The mate with pink hearts will only follow you at veteran or higher, and the mate with red hearts only goes for a mate that has reached boss level. Another benefit to mating is that your offspring have better stats than their parents. Better mates gain better stat increases and create more children. Each additional child is like an extra life. If the animal you control dies, but it has siblings around, control jumps to one of them. On that note, the herbivores have an interesting trick with this. You can press the triangle button to have a sibling play dead, which will distract the carnivores. That sibling will be eaten, but it lets the rest of the pack escape. It is a risky move. For carnivores, on the other hand, pressing and holding the triangle button tells the rest of the pack to join the fight. Speaking of attacking, it also has 2 different modes. The main way of killing is done with the R1 button. This is used for clean kills or critical attacks. As a predator, you can hold the L1 button to sneak up on a potential victim, and when the teeth icons that appear turn solid, you can hit the R1 button to lunge at them. This will be a one-shot kill for creatures that are equal or below you in power, but for animals that are bigger and tougher than you, this will be a critical attack. Another thing to keep in mind is other nearby creatures will be aware of you once you do this. If there is a pack of enemies, they'll all jump into the battle, which leads to a little trick that I would like to tell you about. When you do one of these clean kill attacks, there's a moment where your animal will be stuck in the kill animation and is vulnerable to attack. Use the dodge roll immediately after a clean kill to escape this animation and get back into the fight. The other attack button is square, and this is a regular attack. After hitting the enemy enough times, the bite mark that leads to a clean kill or critical attack will reappear. Swipe, bite, and dodge roll. Keep on killing until the battle is done or the need to run takes over. Running away is difficult, and better to win the fight or stay invisible. Each unlockable creature has different stats and challenges which keeps the game moving. Every playthrough will also be affected by random changes. Which creatures will be wandering around? How many zones devoid of food will you need to pass through? Will you have luck finding higher tier mates? Everything we've talked about so far is enough you'll need to get through all of this, but something I haven't mentioned yet is items. I often forget that this is part of the game, but you will from time to time find food or medicine lying around. These are great for emergencies when your toxicity is too high or there's no food to be found. There are also items that help with stamina and wearable gear that can be unlocked. This game has it all. Awesome story and fun gameplay on top of a sweet post-apocalyptic theme. You need this. We all need this. Now for the bad news. This is only available on the PlayStation 3 as a downloadable title here in the States. I bring this up because I've been thinking about the PS3 a lot lately. Prices right now are fantastic for the system. The cheap games will continue to drop in price, but the valuable games should be purchased now. I don't plan on collecting for the PS3, but I am tempted. I'm glad I have it hooked up again, and maybe I'll upgrade the stupidly small hard drive on it. Thanks for watching this video. Now I'll just wait here and talk about things awkwardly for a bit while the screen fades out. Setting that dip to black at a real slow speed. There it goes. Little by little. And now it's done.